Well, good afternoon. How is everybody today? Are we all awake? Awesome. I know it is midday to afternoon towards the tail end of Ignite on this incredible snowy Chicago day. So I just want to thank you all for joining us today. So today is a partner session, and we're going to talk about maximizing partner profitability with AI in low code. I'm Becky Limberis, and I lead partner marketing for the business applications and platform marketing team here at Microsoft. And I have to say, this is such an exciting time in the low code space. There's so much customer demand, and customers are also really keen to understand how they can use AI to transform their business processes. So when you take these things together, the opportunity for partners is incredible, regardless of what practice area you're already starting from, whether that's data and AI, business applications, modern work. There's partner opportunity for all. And we believe that every partner should adopt a low-code partner practice in their business. So today, we're going to talk about the partner opportunity for building a low-code practice, and we're going to talk about the go-to-market and the investments that we're making to help you accelerate your business and be profitable. But I think the most exciting part about today is that we actually have a live panel of some of our esteemed partners joining us at the end. And they're going to share with us and with you their journey in their low-code practice, some lessons learned along the way, and some best practices. So I'm really excited to have us have that collective conversation today. But before we dive in, I want to pause for a minute and say a sincere and huge thank you to our Power Platform partner community. This community is growing like gangbusters. I mean, we've seen 40% growth in the Power Platform community alone this year. And we're also seeing really strong growth with partners who are attaining the specializations in Power Platform. In fact, we have over 175 specialized partners in low code and over 55 specialized partners in intelligent automation. So a really exciting, opportunity for partners to continue to increase those specializations. But what we're also seeing is that our Power Platform partner community comes from diverse practice areas. Partners are coming from data and AI, from Azure, from modern work, and business applications, and more practice areas. And they're really seeing an opportunity to connect low code into their existing practices. And so recognizing that Power Platform partners come from diverse practice areas, I'm really excited today to share that we now have a path for those partners who have modern work solution designation to achieve Power Platform specializations. Previously, if you had a business application solution designation and a digital and app innovation solution designation, you had a path to achieve those specializations. Now we've added modern work to that, so that's really exciting. To achieve those specializations, partners must meet the additional criteria for performance, knowledge, as well as their app source offer. And I do encourage you to check out your Partner Center dashboard and see if you've met that criteria. If you have, you'll be auto-enrolled in that specialization. But I also want to share some additional exciting news. So earlier this week, if you were in our business application session, and if you've seen the news in July, you recall that we've added Copilot licenses to your partner benefits through the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program for those associated solution designations. Well, today, I'm really excited to share that in addition to that, on January 22nd, you're also going to receive Power Platform licenses in your Solutions Partner Designation Benefits package. So, if you have a solution designation in business applications, in modern work, and in some Azure solution designations, you'll receive the licenses. In addition, if you have a business applications specialization, you will receive those Power Platform licenses. This is feedback that you shared with us, and we're really excited to be able to deliver this. Again, a great way to start the new calendar year with new partner benefits that help you grow your business, dev, test, learn, and run your business. So now really is the moment to invest in your low-code practice. So an IDC research project that was done earlier this year told us that, partners shared with us that they're actually expecting to see 46% growth in their Power Platform practice. Now that's incredible growth, but that's on top of the 30% growth since 2023. And partners are telling us the reasons why they're investing to grow their practices are because they're seeing tremendous customer demand in the market. They do view this as a best-in-class low-code platform, and that's been supported by the analysts and Gartner studies that have come out that have endorsed Microsoft as a leader in low-code platform development as well as process mining development. So really exciting news there. And then partners are also seeing superior services opportunities, right? Low-code offers partners an opportunity to develop an ongoing relationship with their customer and to help be that customer's true advisor along the way. So now let's look at the implications of AI in low code. So it's predicted that by 2026, which by the way, as you all know, is just around the corner, 40% of new applications will be intelligent applications. In addition, AI is opening up new use cases for transformation, right? The future app is an intelligent app, and that's going to be true across all parts of the Power Platform. So as the trusted advisors for your customers, you're in a great position to guide them through this journey. So now let's make this actionable with the way Microsoft is going to market through our solution play. So this solution play is all about using AI in low code to help organizations innovate and become more efficient. The reason why Power Platform is highly sought after by customers is because it truly delivers that fast return on investment and fast time to value. The main goals of this solution play are to speed up the time it takes to bring new solutions to market, help reduce the backlog of applications that need to be developed, and cutting costs to find new growth opportunities. And so this year, in the solution play, we simplified the patterns of value down to 4 core scenarios that have the highest ROI and to allow us even greater focus. Those scenarios are application modernization, extending line of business apps to improve experiences, end-to-end hyper-automation, and of course, agentic-powered business copilots, right? Agentic-powered business processes with Copilot. So with that, I now want to turn it over to my colleague, Matthew Davis, who's going to talk about the go-to-market and the investments we're making in that space.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Everybody having a good time in Chicago? So far? All right, glad to hear it. Okay, well, we're gonna take a look at the partner-funded engagements in this space. I think Becky really teed it up nicely for us, but we'll kind of start just to get a sense of where things are situated here. So you can see this is our MSEM journey, life cycle, whatever you want to call it. And you can see there's multiple engagements available to you guys across the MSEM spectrum. Today, we're going to focus on 3 in particular, starting with low-code vision and value under Inspire and Design. So we're going to take a look at that, tell you a little bit about what's in there. Under MSEM Stage 3, low-code governance strategy. That's a new one. It's just come out October 1st. So we want to give you a feel for what's in there. And the third one, low-code solution deployment. We'll just take a quick look at that one. It's got some similarities with the other ones. We'll let you know why in just a minute. So those 3 funded engagements are what we're going to take a look at today. And as you can see, the 3 of them are here. They're designed, to dovetail to some degree. Doesn't mean you have to do, 1, 2, 3. You need to meet your customers where they are, right? So depending on where they are in their journey, you might be early stage. You want to get them excited about low code and do that vision and value exercise. We'll talk about what that is in more detail in a moment. Or it may be that they understand what the platform's all about, what low code's all about, but they've got some concerns or not quite sure. There's a lack of understanding about what to take to operate that platform, right? What's it take to govern it and to operate it in a secure fashion. So this is the new one that's just come out, Low Code Governance Strategy, just came out again October 1. A lot of great depth there that you can really use to educate your customers and also then tee them up for being able to move forward with implementation or implementation at scale, we hope. And then the third one again, low-code solution deployment. Just a heads up, that's essentially, think about it at a later stage, maybe a customer has already purchased licenses. They're trying to figure out, we've got these licenses, we're not sure how to drive value out of the platform. So this gives you a chance to kind of revisit that vision and value motion. And then also, hey, let's go build a couple of things so we can actually see this in action. So that's sort of a composite one, if you will. But we really designed that with the idea that you could come back around to the tail end, because we know a lot of customers sometimes struggle even after license purchase. So that's kind of how these are structured. So we'll take a quick look at each one of them. First of all, why, right? Why would we do these engagements? Why is it going to be important to your customers, and what's in it for you as well, of course? Obviously, the first one, in vision and value, we want to get people excited about Power Platform and low code in general, right? So we want to show them the art of the possible. We want to show them all the goodness that's in Dataverse and up and down the stack, and being able to get down to Azure and up through the applications and Power Automate and all of that good stuff. So it's very much an art of the possible kind of thing, for one. For two, we want to hear where our customers are at, right? So we're going to use this as an opportunity to see where they are, what's important to them, what kind of opportunities may exist for them to take advantage of a low-code platform. And then finally, we're going to start to take those 2 pieces and put them together in such a way that we can start to talk about how we deliver value. And we're basically going to do that with kind of an objectives, key results kinds of framework, so we can start to align on business value and objectives that we can start to move forward on. Okay? So the framework here, 3 phases: assess, build the vision, plan for value. In the assess phase, pretty straightforward. We'll do a kind of a pre-engagement kickoff. We've got a pre-assessment questionnaire that we'll put in your hands. This is all of these are assets that will be in the package that you'll be able to use to deliver, including some selling flyers and things like that you can brand yourselves. But we'll get that questionnaire out there to one or hopefully multiple stakeholders in the customer's environment. Get that information back so that we can start to gather some information, gather some insight into what's going on with that customer. What does their current landscape look like, right? Then we move on to build the vision. So after we do a kickoff, patterns of value, that's really kind of our art of the possible motion here, if you will. So you can see the additional optional modules across the bottom. Those are more deep dives, but the pattern of value will cover each of those: app modernization, extending line of business apps, hyperautomation, and of course, Copilot Studio, building agents, can't forget that one. But the patterns of value will give you that first pass of kind of looking broadly over these capabilities. Then we'll take a look at another module called Copilot in Power Platform. So that's Copilot showing up in Power Apps, Copilot showing up in Power Automate, et cetera, Power Pages. And then first chance, we felt it was important to start to introduce some of these governance and operations and security concepts early on, so customers start to get a feel for what that looks like. So we do I'd say pretty high-level module around governance and security. It's an overview, but so we can start to have those conversations early in the process. Then you may choose to do a deep dive with one of these additional optional modules across the bottom. And then as we sort of wrap up the build the vision phase, we're gonna start talking about, so what does it look like for you, Mr. Customer? What would this look like if we were gonna start to implement? What are the things that would be important to you? And that's where we start to drive out a bit of a vision statement, objectives, maybe some initial key results. What would you like to see if we were able to do X, Y, or Z, right? And then moving forward, as we get into plan for value, we're gonna then start to think about, well, how would we quantify those results, right? So we give you guidance on what are OKRs all about, objectives, key results, how do you work with that? So we've got some separate guidance for you in here that we've borrowed from our PowerCat team, by the way, worked with them on several of these engagements. So we'll use that plan for value piece to kind of pull that together, understand how we might measure success. And then the report and recommendations, otherwise known as the proof of execution, where you kind of wrap this together in terms of the objectives, key results, and most important, some at least initial thoughts around initiatives. Should we go build some maybe automation for you? Should we go build an agent? Should we maybe do some automation some other ways or build a Power App? So at least we have an idea of what the next step might look like. Okay? So that's the low-code vision and value. The next one in the sequence is the low-code governance strategy. So here, again, we really are trying to help our customers to sort of get past the unknown, right? Get past some of those fear factors. Many of us have probably had the experience where maybe we've gone and built some apps or built some automation, or maybe there's lots of apps already out in the default environment, and now they're trying to rein it in, figure out how to govern that space. So this is really designed to give them the information that they need to understand how to govern, how to secure, and how to operate this platform, okay? Again, based on best practices from the PowerCat team, so we've leveraged a lot of their knowledge and experience from over the years. Also, as part of this, we want to, set them up for success, right? So we want to improve their digital transformation journey, their capability to do that. That's also, by the way, aligned based on the Power Platform well-architected framework, which you'll find on Microsoft Learn if you want to go look at that. So we've really tried to leverage best practices and patterns that have been well-defined. And then, of course, we want to be able to help them accelerate, right? So get administrators positioned so that they are ready and able to operate this platform with excellence, makers, and prepare for community participation, right? All of those things. So that's really a key element of teeing up your customers for success, right? So what does this look like? Again, 3 phases: prepare, plan to empower, and define and design. So again, we've got the pre-engagement questionnaire, pretty similar to the previous one. So if you're doing these in sequence, great, you don't have to do that again. Maybe you're coming in somewhere in the middle, or there's been some time lag, so you'll want to do that again. Then once we kick off the plan to empower phase, we're going to do some what I'll call first pass, kind of higher level modules. So establishing a Power Platform Center of Excellence. There we're going to look at kind of an overview of the governance, the operational components, things like environment strategy, application lifecycle management, data loss prevention policies, and other security constructs, right? Reporting, analytics, monitoring, those kinds of things. Again, high level, just to give the broad view. We're also going to talk a little bit about community. Things like, libraries and catalogs, application rationalization, all those topics are in there. And we'll also do a quick overview of the tooling, a little bit of a, by the way, there's this thing called the COE Starter Kit if you need to talk about that, and PPAC, the Power Platform Admin Center course. These are, again, all aligned to the Power Platform well-architected framework. And then we're going to move on to, where are we? Copilot and Power Platform. So again, a little bit deeper, Power Platform, Copilot and Power Apps, Copilot and Power Automate, et cetera, so they can see how that can surface and how they can leverage the capabilities of AI to help them build apps, help them build apps and automations. And then we're going to take a look at the Power Platform, the COE Starter Kit, so they understand what kind of tooling is available, which has been getting additional stuff added by the PowerCat team. So we'll take a look at that starter kit as well. And then finally, community success. We want to really position why communities are important, what the value is, what kind of impact they can have. There's some guidance in here around techniques for establishing and growing a Power Platform community. We'll provide guidance that you can provide to your customers for establishing a community, for developing a community development strategy, again, based on best practices. So that's the Power Community Success. When we get into define and design, now we're going to get even deeper. So this is where you've got some material that you may or may not use all of it, but we wanted to give you the tools, empower you with the information, just maybe some key slides that really frame up a concept if your customer's really interested in drilling down on things like security concepts and layers, from the tenant to the environment to role-based security and those different ways of securing the applications and data. We'll also take a deeper dive here on organizational security, right? Business units, all the way down to field level security. All that kind of content's in there. Also going to talk about operational roles and responsibilities. So, what does that look like? What kind of people do you need? What does a Power Platform admin do, right? All those kinds of things also in here, so you can really start to set them up for success. We're also going to provide an overview in here of kind of common admin tasks, things that they would do, how they would monitor, what kind of reporting and analytics are available, right? So we're trying to give a really broad picture with the detail underneath, so when you need to drill in, you can, for what it's all about when it's time to operate this platform with excellence. And then we're also going to, one more time, take a deeper look at the environment strategy, data loss prevention, connectors, all that good, super deep detail is in here. So when your customers want to say, I'm not sure how, or how do I secure, or what am I going to do about X, you'll have the assets in place to be able to have those conversations. Also, in part of when we move to define and design, platform scale and resilience. So here we're going to talk about managed environments, multi-region concepts, disaster recovery, redundancy, data boundaries, gateways, network considerations, connectors, low code versus pro code versus no code, right? Solutions management, ALM, all that stuff's in there, and also some information about kind of the Dataverse layer. So again, we're deep. We're ready to answer questions that our customers, our IT folks, our administrators are going to have so that they have confidence when we're ready to move out at scale. Obviously, we're going to do an intro to Copilot Studio. Probably don't need to say more than that because you've probably heard all about that all week long. But we want to let them know Copilot Studio is part of this low-code platform that's available to them and how it fits into the broader constructs that we've already talked about. And then finally, the proof of execution. So this one's a little bit different. If many of you have executed, I'm assuming folks have executed some of our funded engagements in the past, okay? So you're probably used to some of the PowerPoint, give us some screenshots and tell us who was there, and 4, 5, 6 slides, whatever it may be. This one's a little bit different because we really felt it was important to capture what is essentially the foundations of an operations model, right? So here we've given you, it's really roughly about 6 pages of a Word document. It's a template. It's a framework for you to capture things like, what are we going to do about environment strategy? What's our approach to, ALM? Are we going to use the Dataverse side stuff, or are we going to go with ADO? Whatever those things look like, so that you can capture that information, capture that detail, probably a living document. What are we going to do? What have we talked about in terms of roles, responsibilities, the outputs of all the conversations you can start to capture in this document, and that's your sort of groundwork that you can give the customer at the end, and give us a copy too, to be able to say, here, this is what we've talked about. Now we can move forward with adopting at scale with confidence because you now know what these things mean and at least some intentional direction around what we're going to do about them. Make sense to everybody? Okay. Finally, the low-code solution deployment engagement. So I mentioned this one earlier. I'm going to be real quick about this one because I want to get our partner panel on for sure. Excited about that. But again, get them excited about Power Platform. Find out what's going to be of value to them. And then the last motion there is really, okay, let's go build a couple of things. So what you'll see in the framework here is pretty much the same on assess. Build the vision. We've essentially just compressed that sort of vision and value piece together. So let's kind of just build that objectives, key results, and all that. And then the last piece here, build the solution. We've given you a really kind of a lightweight framework. You don't have to use it. You can go agile, or you can use your own methodology. You could use SureStep, but we're not saying you should do that here because this is going to be just a, build a little app, right? So we've just built a framework that says, well, okay, you should probably do some definition and, design of what you're going to build, and you're going to build it and deploy it, and, figure out how you might drive value out of that. So again, a lightweight framework, use it or not, use your own. But the idea is that you've now built something that you can leave with your customer and say, here's an app, or here's some automation, or here's an agent built with Copilot Studio. And any one of those are acceptable, okay? So that's pretty much it for the low-code deployment accelerator. In terms of best practices, I'm just gonna roll these out real quick here. A lot of this is pretty common sense stuff, but I think it's important to reinforce. And I did a lot of delivery over my years before I joined this team, almost 30 years of delivery, I guess. So these are the things that kind of, come back to me when we want to make sure that we're really aligned for success. So bring the technical skills, right? Bring your architects, bring senior cons if you need to, people that can really speak to a technical audience, particularly on that governance engagement. Make sure that your customer knows what to expect in terms of the outcomes of each of these motions, that they're not expecting you to build, some Taj Mahal at the end, right? That you use the pre-engagement questionnaire. Great way to collect intelligence about where your customer's at and how you can meet them where they are. And set expectations early, not only about the engagement, but about the platform and how they might use it. In terms of aligning the vision, always keep the vision in central focus, right? If it shifts, it moves around, let's revisit, let's talk about that. Promote dialogue, right? So ongoing, things are gonna move. We wanna make sure that we're having an ongoing conversation with the customer. And listen for those key customer signals. Sometimes it's just one or two key words that'll say, oh, wait a minute. Are you thinking really you want to do this now instead of that, right? So again, some general consulting stuff, but these are things I found, you neglect one of these sometimes, and that's when engagements don't always go the way you think they're going to go. Make sure to deliver the core modules at least. I like to make sure that you do each one of those. There's guided demos. There's plenty of assets in here that you can leverage, so please take advantage of those. What else? Demonstrate thought leadership, right? They're expecting that from you, so please bring that to the table. And always set the table for the next piece. That's how these are designed, and that's how we hope to help you help your customers get to leveraging the Power Platform at scale. So with that, I'm going to leave that there. We're happy to take questions later, and right now we're going to bring on our partner panel.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Ignite.
Welcome our partner panel. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's start with an introduction of yourself, and if you can tell us a little bit about your company, and we'll start there. Michaela.
Sure. Hi, Michaela Kennel. I am director of our Microsoft Solutions Center at AIS. AIS is a Microsoft Cloud partner focused on services for highly regulated enterprise customers across commercial and federal. So we work across the stack, Azure, Power Platform, low-code, everything in between, and it's what we do best.
Hi everyone, Marco Amuedo. I'm the global CTO for KPMG, the Microsoft Alliance at KPMG. Microsoft for us is our biggest technology alliance. We've got a 360 relationship with Microsoft where we obviously buy a lot of stuff from Microsoft, but we also sell with Microsoft, build and across all the product set. But we're here today because low code is something that is super important for us in this age and era of AI.
David Conti, I'm the General Manager of Product for Valrada. So Valrada's been a BizApps partner, or going back a few years, you might have heard the term the three clouds. So the Azure Cloud, the M365, and the BizApps Cloud. So Valrada's always worked across all three. And then a number of years ago, as the low code really started to take off, we made sure we had a practice in that particular space dedicated to it, because it is different than each of those other clouds that we've been involved in, and there's a lot more that can be done with clients these days with that. But Australian business, as you can probably hear, but we have been expanding in EMEA, and I'm actually on my way to San Fran as we're growing our US practice.
Fantastic, thank you. So now I'm curious if you can, from each of your perspectives, tell us a little bit about your low-code journey, and where did your low-code practice start, and what lessons have you learned along the way? Because I imagine you each have had different journeys and different lessons along the way. So why don't we start with you, David?
Sure. So coming from a BizApps background, Dynamics XRM has always been an opportunity for low code in businesses. So as we saw Power Apps coming through, we could have kept with that particular journey, but what we saw is that it was a different mindset to actually doing the Power Apps and the way you work with businesses, not on a first-party app, but on these more smaller solutions. So our BizApps people didn't quite have the right mindset. Our cloud people were very pro-code and very heavy coders, so that was also not quite a right fit. So we had someone in the business, Matthew Pontel, who leads up that practice, and we put him to grow that specifically so we could focus on this technology and the attitude with clients, because it's really coming from an experience first, and what is the problem that needs to be solved in a bespoke manner and a very usable manner. So that's how we started and grown our practice. It's been very successful, and that same practice has moved into splitting off into the Copilot side of things. It was they already had the right mindset about how to think about bringing information together and presenting it back in useful applications. So they were the right people to then start thinking about how Copilot was going to add to that particular landscape.
Wow, really interesting to see how you've now parlayed that business and those learnings into extending that to Copilot. Thank you for sharing that. Marco, what about you?
I think pretty much a very similar journey on the BizApps side. So starting from Dynamics and then looking at the natural extensibility and creating that. So I echo everything what David says. Even now what we call the Copilot team that we build and all that stuff. But it's also interesting that, to add a little bit of perspective, we also have people on the other side on Azure, on Pro Code development that got interested on the low-code side. And at the beginning, I think 5-6 years ago, not so much, but now when they started to see all the ALM capabilities, all the things, that journey started to get people together. I think the key lesson for us here is that you have to do it purposefully, right? At the beginning, we were treating it like, yeah, it's just another part of the BizApps, another part. But as soon as we started to grow that thing, we realized that no, there's a dedicated practice that needs maybe a fine-tuned set of skills. I'm not going to say fully different, but really fine-tuned and understand the capabilities, understand what you can do there, and also how go through that journey with the client to show the value, stabilize it, scale it, more than simple business applications or cloud solutions. But yeah, that's the journey as well.
Thank you.
We come from a little bit of a different background, not necessarily starting so much with a heavy Dynamics practice, but we've been working with Azure since before it was Azure. So Power Platform, when that came around in like 2016, we really started to build on that, work with the Microsoft product teams on Power Platform adoption framework and figure out this new thing that is terrifying IT folks. How do we make them comfortable with the platform? You really have at that point a whole new players on the field. It's opened up to line of business users. So how do we start to bring those two groups together, work together, bring in this security and governance side of things. So for us, it was really extending our ability with Power Platform that we were able to do with Azure, build faster through low code. And now we've got pro devs on board. It's not just about citizen developers. You've got both working in Fusion. So for us, these things are better together. It's never just about Azure or Power Platform and conversations. We're usually going in with both, and that takes a lot of change management and changing of mindsets, but it's worth it. So.
I think that's super key. The change of mentality from just being a low-code tool to actually is a glue for the Microsoft stack that allows to bring things together, and it's there for everyone to move faster for pro developers, for business users to ideate, to iterate on something faster. So it's, for me and some of my colleagues, Power Apps is the glue of the Microsoft stack. I love it on that.
I love it, the glue of the Microsoft stack. You might see that as a new tagline. Thank you, thank you. So can you talk a little bit more about how you see low code aligning into your broader Microsoft practice? I mean, you did touch on that, but maybe you can just expand on that a little bit, and how you orchestrate across your practice areas to bring low-code value to various customer business units. Because that's one thing we hear from partners all the time. It's not just about, how do I adopt it, but then how do I orchestrate this across my business?
Yeah, I mean, the organization around a product like that can sometimes get in the way of the outcome. So the way we approach it is, we've got solution area leads for all of the Microsoft solution areas, but that team is really integrated. They're cross-functional. So, we help experts in their field by being experts in ours. They come to us with a problem, a challenge, an opportunity, and really we evaluate what's the right approach for you. They come with an idea around using Copilot Studio, but maybe we extend that with Azure AI services. So for us, that team collaboration and focusing on the problem, the best fit for it, not always using a hammer, that's really important, making sure we're solving the problem, not just applying the platform.
Right.
I think for me, it's very simply, we need to hide the complexity of the Microsoft platform, right? It's not fair for our client to sit there and, we organize obviously by solution areas with Microsoft and stuff, but the client doesn't need to understand that. Why they need to know there is 6 solution areas, and they don't know that. They're looking for business value for a solution. And again, going to the glue, is Power Apps allows us to bring all those things together and show the business value. And I think that's the conversation. As a partner, growing, either you come from Dynamics for Azure, is a click there that you have to do to change and look at the broader platform and start to explain the business value, that mindset. Because the learnings we had with some of our largest customers was that no one goes out to buy a low-code platform. They go out to solve a problem on the business. And once you solve it with the low-code platform, then they want to scale it, and then you can bring, Azure AI services, other things to the picture. But that's how we look at it now.
And I think extending what Marco was saying, it's very rare that we do a project these days that is just one technology, just the low code or just cloud. So our leaders who get out in front of customers to talk about their problem and the outcome they need to achieve are aware of what we've done elsewhere as to the way that we bring those technologies together to make sure we pick the right tooling. And sometimes the customer goes to market and says, I want Dynamics, I want a first-party app. But by the end of the conversation, we go, that's not what you actually need. And we help guide them to a low-code solution or vice versa. It's really trying to focus on that outcome rather than a single technology.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Really great point, and it just underscores how important partners are to Microsoft and to our business, and ultimately to customers. I mean, they're really relying on you as their trusted advisors. You're, abstracting the complexity of Microsoft, and we understand there can be a lot of complexity at Microsoft, but you're abstracting that out, and you're really bringing, value from a solution perspective, to our customers. So now let's pivot a little bit to Copilot, because we cannot have a conversation here without Copilot and AI. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about what low code means to your Copilot and AI practice development?
So I'd say that everyone's still understanding where Copilot and AI is going to fit in their business, like our clients. They don't want to do a big investment into high code language models and high code AI at this stage. Some do, but a lot of them want a lighter way to get started. And some of the tools that we were shown earlier in this session are very helpful to get that idea across. And then being able to take the low code pilot adjustments, so Copilot Studio, being able to bring in the documents, being able to then do low code Copilot answers that they can use across their business, allows them to get a strong feel for what Copilot and AI is before they go further down the journey.
I think we were earlier this morning at the stage sharing how we actually adopted Copilot Studio, building agents, governance, all that stuff. And I think for me, low code and AI is a no-brainer. It goes together. Because AI is now there, is no going back. We got all the capabilities, but the business are questioning, how do I get value out of it? And with low code, you accelerate that value. You are able to create that quick or faster solution that leverages AI, but gets you on that space. And I think from that perspective, everyone should be doing low code and AI to demonstrate the business value. I think that's my take. And be customer zero. Apply it to yourself so you can show how it works.
Absolutely. And in a lot of cases, that could be the first step, Copilot Studio and some of these AI apps, proof of value engagements, using things like Azure Innovate. We start there and then we build upon it to make sure that it's mature enough or kind of meets the customer's needs enough. But it's a really good starting point in kind of the UI, and then we just extend it into other services as needed.
I think, and that's a good point, the Azure Innovate and all these services, we were talking about this, is the one secret sauce from Microsoft, the one thing that really helps with clients is when you're on that chicken and egg situation of, okay, I think I like what you're saying, but how do I invest and stuff, all the investments that we've seen from Microsoft on the partner side to kickstart that adoption journey of, or that proof of concept or that stabilization, whatever, that really makes a difference to us. Whether it's an enterprise customer with different funding or a smaller one, there is always a way to help them make the decision faster thanks to the Microsoft investments.
Fantastic. And maybe we can also hear from each of you about how the investments, the funded engagements have helped to, your practice. David.
So probably it's been the kickstart to be able to actually have a conversation with a client who's not sure what they want to do and what they want to invest in, because it's allowed us to extend our pre-sales by taking advantage of these and working deeper with the customer, but also having a framework to work within. So there's, as we're taken through the various sections that you're meant to follow, the outcomes you're trying to drive, customers feel a reassurance that you're following a pattern Microsoft has put out, even though you're then putting your own flavors to get their outcome.
Fantastic. And Michaela.
The resources get better and better. And I know Matthew went really quickly through all of those that are available, but the materials that you can use aligned to best practices, that's great. For us, in addition to accelerating getting started on an engagement, it's also a contracting path. I mean, as partners working with the field, a lot of times the hurdle is, where do you have MSAs? And this allows us to accelerate getting started, having a path to kind of landing and expanding in an account. And oftentimes you get in a low-code situation and you can expand to other areas, if you've got capability there. So it's been an awesome tool for us to kind of scale our reach across customers to do new things.
Wow, great. That's excellent to hear from our lens anyway. And so we're just about out of time, but why don't we close off? If you could share a tip or a learning or something that you would like other partners to know that impacted you across your practice journey.
Absolutely. So I think one thing that we were talking about earlier is working with the field. And the programs are really important. Your go-to-market, your demand gen, that's all great. But getting to know the account teams and the different sales specialists and solution areas, as well as the ATS and the AE and all the acronyms, that's really important because they are hunting in your accounts. They can support you through the funding process. You guys can share capture, and that relationship is really important and has paid off for us for the last several years. So get to know your people and work with the field. And if you get in through low code working with a specialist, start working with the rest of the team too. There's definitely more opportunity there to expand.
I'll only add to that 100% and then listen to the customer, find the business challenge to prove the value of the platform. That's the trick that does it for us and allows us to scale with the Microsoft funding. So listen for business problems.
And I'll just echo what Michaela said. Talk to your Microsoft reps. At the end of the day, they want to help you because it helps them succeed. So work closely with them. That's where you're going to find the most opportunities with clients who are actually asking for these solutions.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think we're out of time. I don't think I know, so we might get the cane in a minute. But I just want to, sincerely thank you for sharing your time with us today and with the audience. And to the audience, thank you for spending your time with us. I hope you found value in this, and we're going to be here a little bit for questions, should there be any. Thank you.